Now, the difference between an average person and a billionaire is essentially zero. Unfortunately,
True.
about 9 of them. Nevertheless, if you're a regular person, you walk around the same streets as both the Riff, the RAF, and professionals all the same. You probably know people who still live at home, friends slumming it with roommates, couples sharing a 2-bedroom, and high earners with a single family home, a dog, 2 kids, and the white picket fence, giving you a decent perspective of life for the average person. But when you're so rich that money basically doesn't matter, everything changes completely. One unavoidable characteristic of becoming a billionaire is that you end up in such an isolated social circle that you often cease to relate to the common person and your life becomes unrecognizable. For this reason, billionaires actually have more in common with the homeless than they do with most people.
That's crazy.
Doesn't pay taxes, undiagnosed mental illness, on the kind of drugs you don't even know how to get, and never even heard of the Epstein files. Now, it's natural to look at your life where you work 40 hours a week for just enough to scrape by and think, how does someone even get to be a billionaire in the first place? It's really pretty simple. At some point or another, we've all had the genius thought, what if 1 million people just gave me $1? It would barely inconvenience them, but then I would have $1 million. While most of us stop at this fantasy, impressed by our own raw ingenuity, some people throughout history have gone further, extrapolated on this scheme, and invented what is known today as a business. As an example, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph thought, what if you give me $16 every month and I mail you Shrek 2 on DVD? Easy $6.5 billion. Elon Musk said, what if you give me $8,000 and I pretend to give you a self-driving car every year for the next decade? Richest man on earth. Mark Zuckerberg said, what if I give you an app that collects all of your personal information in a giant database that I own, and you give me a heat lamp and a bowl of grasshoppers? To really drive home how much wealth billionaires have, when someone says they're a billionaire, they're one of only 800 people in the United States.
Wow, that's crazy.
In contrast, if someone says they're a millionaire, it means they have a house. Well, politically, it's commonplace for progressives to hate billionaires because they epitomize
800.
late-stage capitalism. I don't make fun of billionaires because I have an ideological bone to pick. I make fun of them because they're really fucking weird. Recently, Peter Thiel, a tech billionaire and right-wing ideas guy, appeared on a podcast and was asked if he thought the human race should survive. He then stammered over the question for 15 seconds before reluctantly answering with the classic, "Yes, but..." Now, I'm no expert in media training, but as I frequently tell Putin, Hamas, and Benjamin Netanyahu on our weekly Zoom meetings, the correct answer to human rights questions is always to say yes right away, and only reveal later that you had your fingers crossed out of frame. Billionaires like Thiel are almost alarmingly out of touch with how to communicate with the general public, because even though he can understand a regular person's life conceptually, he can't relate to them on a personal level. For example, I get really hot at night when I go to bed, so I like to turn the temperature way down, whereas Thiel prefers to sleep in a deep freezer he lays down like a sarcophagus. Now, the good news is that not all billionaires base their whole personality on World of Warcraft expansions and name their company after the magic rock Sauron used to corrupt weak minds and manipulate their will. Warren Buffett, for example, has not only pledged all of his wealth to charity after he dies, but he also still lives a very humble life in his house in Omaha that he bought in 1958.
What do you guys think about that? Would you, if you was in his shoes or his situation, would you want to leave money for your family? Let me know in the comment section. For your family or your generation, you know, leave an inheritance for your children's children, or will you just give it away? I'm curious.
Using the change he picked up off the ground. Nevertheless, most billionaires don't do much to shake off the public image that their whole existence is just about lording over their minimum wage warehouse workers as they Zillow the next 2,000 hectares of farmland to buy, sip their cognac, and mutter to their Siamese cat what pleasure it brings them to see the peasants toiling for their coin. But this isn't how billionaires run companies, this is how Mr. Beast comes up with video ideas. The ethical question of should there be billionaires at all is one of the most hot-button issues around right now because wealth inequality has been steadily increasing decade over decade, and many people believe that billionaires don't pay their fair share. This is of course ridiculous, as billionaires get divorced all the time. With that said, it is a common belief that if the government were to confiscate everyone's personal wealth above $999 million, this would lead to a dramatic improvement in the standard of living for the average person. Problem is, even if you were to yoink every stock, bond, and square inch of real estate a billionaire owns, liquidate all of it to straight cash while somehow getting market value, in the US you would get about $6.22 trillion, which would cover 11 months of government spending, or every person in the country would get a one-time payment of around
11 months of government spending, like what the... And if the government is spending this much, then how much of it are they giving people in the US, the UK? You know, it feels like if they're spending that much in 11 months, I don't see it. There's potholes everywhere. People are struggling. Cost of living is stupid high. I don't know. Let me know in the comments.
$18,000.
Like
While
the
this
video,
is
by the
nothing
way,
to scoff
please.
at, if you're one of the people who says we should eat the rich, it's important to consider that the average inheritance in the US is $46,000, meaning you would make
Wow.
more money if you ate just one of your parents. Now, because they can't yet buy more of it, billionaires are experts at managing their time. While flying private is out of reach for most of us, there are other tips you can copy from billionaires to save time in your own life. For example, when I make a new account on a website, I save time by letting Chrome auto-generate an encrypted password. I got this idea from Elon Musk, who uses the same technique to name his children. When you basically reach level 99 in capitalism, you might ask yourself, what do I do now? Not to worry, once you've reached the level cap, there's still plenty of side quests for you to do. While most regular people spend their time playing video games, doing arts and crafts, or playing a sport, billionaires can choose more exotic things like getting bullied on Twitter, criticizing the Chinese government exactly one time, paying pro athletes to make you feel talented, leaving the planet in search of any novelty that will make the emptiness go away, paying to boost your Path of Exile account, then streaming it to prove to anyone who doubted your multidisciplinary genius that they were in fact correct, exploring the bottom of the ocean to uncover its lost secrets, and of course exploring the bottom of the ocean and then dying instantly.
I saw that coming.
In reality, when you're worth even hundreds of millions of dollars, an ultimately rookie amount, you can pretty much have anything you want. Penthouses, luxury cars, private chef, private plane, giant house, and another giant house in a poor country that kinda sucks but has good weather, and you're not sure if purchasing power parity means the gardeners are getting paid well by their standards, or if you just own slaves. With this in mind, if you are a billionaire, it's actually pretty hard to think of a way to flex on multi-millionaires, meaning the 23-year-olds on Raya who look like they're 35 aren't going to message you back. That is, of course, until you remember what separates the centimillionaires from the billionaires. Big boat. Ask a girl if she'd rather be stuck in the middle of a forest with a random bear or a random man, and she picks the bear every time. Ask a girl if she'd rather be stuck in the middle of the ocean with a random shark or stuck in the middle of the ocean with a random Saudi man, and she picks Muhammad every time. This is because men in the forest are broke, meaning they'll try to touch your boob, whereas men on yachts are rich, meaning they have grown weary of material desires and flew you out business class for your quirky personality. While no one has tried to sex traffic me yet, the closest I've been able to get so far was when I was on a holiday in France several years ago and made a day trip to Monaco. Now, for people not in the know, Monaco is a tiny sovereign nation basically inside France and is like a Vatican City tax haven for the ultra wealthy. They have a little garden you can look at near the Monte Carlo casino, which was the only thing I could afford. And as you walk through, you're like, oh, look, a little building. Hopefully this one's a bathroom. Nope, just another Audemars Piguet watch kiosk. Then you pee on it anyway because you're in Europe. Other than this neat oceanographic museum, what I thought was the coolest part of Monaco was the port, which was divided into sections based on how important people in Monaco thought you were. In the very inner part of the harbor, you have the literal wage slave section, which is basically all the yachts that I would see back home. Then there's Worthless, which had the biggest yachts I have ever seen in real life prior to this. After that, you have Starter Yacht, which are like floating New York City penthouses. Then the last section in the harbor is, finally, a real yacht, which is one giant pier for the 2 or 3 mega yachts that rule the Monaco postcard photo and cost at least $100 million each. Obviously you don't stop there because these things are a dime a dozen, so then you go out in the ocean and you get, what is this, a harbor for ants? Now you might be thinking what I was thinking at the time, which was, even if you were a billionaire, why on earth would you want a mega yacht so big you can't even park it in the harbor? Exactly, to store your other yachts in, Brokey, get with the program. At this point, I too was wondering how I could acquire a Russian nesting yacht until I was like, speaking of, what's that? And maybe a few kilometers farther out from the shore was this thing, which is the world's largest sailing yacht, and in the top 5 most expensive yachts ever built. It's owned by Andrei Melnichenko and designed by the guy who made this cool lemon squeezer that my mom just bought. Even though I had forgotten the oligarch-class yacht existed, this guy claims he doesn't even have ties to the Russian state, making him just a regular, unimportant billionaire. This argument, of course, didn't work on the Italian government after Russia invaded Ukraine, because they saw the yacht parked outside their shoreline and said, yoink! Which brings us to the true top of the hierarchy, which isn't who owns the biggest yacht, it's who owns the biggest ocean. And you know what that means. That's right, baby, the taxpayer wins again. Checkmate, billionaires. Me and the boys have once again risen to the top. Now, if you're looking to... Oh, wrong slide. If you're looking to avoid calls from the IRS or other scammers that manage to get your email or phone number from Zuckerberg's databank, you should try today's sponsor, Incogni. Incogni is a service that contacts data brokers on your behalf to request the removal of your...
That's the end. So, this was... It was funny and then informational at the same time. It's just, yeah. Let's see the comments though. So, Bold Bold of you to assume there's only 9 zeros between me and a billionaire. It's actually 12 zeros. I mean, ooh, that was good. That was a good one. As the saying goes, the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire is roughly $1 billion. Goodness me, man. Stupid money, eh? Stupid money. If you know a millionaire, it just means they have a house. Got me so good. It's true though. I was about to read the next comment, but I'm thinking about the last comment, because in today's society, things have just changed way too much. Yeah, we just genuinely don't even know what is going on, like what's happening. Well, yeah. Anyways, hey, there's only 8 zeros between me and the billionaire. Thank you. Well done to you, my friend. 13k as well. But yeah, look, I don't want to read all the entire comments. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, especially to the question that I asked you earlier in the video. And obviously, please make sure to like the video because it boosts it to the YouTube algorithm. And I'll catch you guys on the next